Hello and good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. We are on day two of the post-summer detox challenge. And I hope everybody's having a wonderful day. I hope your week is going well. And I hope you are, learning a little bit more about yourself after just one day. And so give me a second. I am going to open up my windows so that I am able to engage with you all and see you all live. Well, not see, but virtually see you all live, and that we can communicate directly. So I always love it when we get to day two, because then I am able to hear things and see what experiences and see what successes people have had so far, and even what challenges. So there's always a success. Even if you just made it through day two, you had all the food, you made all the meals, consider that success, okay? And so I'm super excited to go live with you today. I'm feeling good about all of the positive feedback and all the enthusiasm. So I really, really appreciate it. And so while you are tuning in, while you are joining, please do say hello to me so I know who's on. And for those who do not know me, I'm Sandra Goldtree. I'm a registered dietitian. I'm also a certified personal trainer and your accountability partner. So, and I'm here again exclusively for you for today and tomorrow. Okay, so 3 days in a row, where my goal is to show you a different approach, a different mindset to eating healthier, healthy weight loss, increasing your energy levels, and just feeling less bloated. A lot of people just want to feel like their old self again. I hear that a lot. They want to do the things that they used to have energy to do, okay? And so these are some of the benefits and many more that you can get in just 3 simple days, okay? And so first and foremost, I do want to express that every one of you are more than capable of being successful at conquering your biggest challenges, your fears regarding your health, regarding your weight, regarding everything, okay? All right. Hey, Charlotte. Hey, Lisa, day 2. Well, tell me, how was day 1? So post. Tell me some good stuff. Tell me one good thing and tell me one challenge, okay? So I always like to hear the challenges too, because in many cases, there are things that we can work through, but sometimes our challenges become roadblocks and we get frustrated, we feel overwhelmed, and we stop. So let me know what your challenges are, okay? That's what I'm here for, to help you to work through some of that stuff, because this is not as easy as 1, 2, 3 yet, okay? But it will become as easy as 1, 2, 3 in time, okay? And so while I am looking, as people are tuning in, especially if you were on yesterday, even if you're listening to the replay yesterday, if you're participating, share how day 1 went and any aha moments or anything that surprised you. Any new flavors, anything that you were kind of skeptical about, but hey, it wasn't so bad. Let me know. So I'm excited to hear about that. And so I'm going to come out the gate. I want to come out the gate and share a case with you. And if you are able, I'm going to actually post this in the chat, because I do like for you all to see this while I am speaking about her. So let's see here. I see some comments here. Pretty easy going. I did want some sweet, but the nectarine helped. Okay, so it helped curb the appetite. Sometimes we need to really address it, and sometimes maybe drinking water, or sometimes, as you said, you had your sweetness from the fruit. Okay, and it takes a while for the body to adjust to the added sugar versus natural sugar, but staying consistent, your body will actually crave the natural sugar and be satisfied. Now, our mind is a different story. Our mind may take a little bit longer to come on board, but it does happen. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen with myself. And so I wanted to share with you a case here where a former client, they worked with a trainer for 6 months and they did not see any results. And many people experience that. And you can actually see many pictures of her on the website. That's why I put the URL on there. But she is a dental hygienist, and she came to me with the following health concerns. She was constantly bloated. She wasn't losing weight no matter what she tried. She rated her nutrition IQ as very low, and she would lose some weight, but then gain it back. And the cycle would just continue for months and months and months. And then she would feel very frustrated because she had a trainer. She's spending money on a trainer, and of course, it's the natural thought is the trainer is not doing what they need to do. But I did let them know. I was like, hey, I let Samantha know, hey, it's not the trainer. The trainer did their job. It's the eating part that has to go in line with the regimented exercise and the intensity of the exercise. And at that time, her confidence level was low, and so relatable, right? I mean, stuff that we hear very commonly. And so here are some of the personal outcomes that she had. So her sleep improved, and so she was able to wake up feeling refreshed, and she no longer felt beholden to a diet because she was afraid to eat certain things, because what was it going to do? What's going to cause her to gain weight? What's going to cause her to feel bloated? And she no longer felt the urge to binge. Okay. Yeah, she would enjoy some indulgences, but it wasn't a craving that controlled her. Her clothes were feeling good. So definitely she was very gracious to point to send several pictures along her journey of our time together. So I'm very appreciative of that. So definitely take a look at it. You can kind of see her 6-month journey. And then also for the first time, she began to meal prep, and now she knows what her body needs, and she no longer follows fad diets. And I've actually spoke with her at the beginning of the year. I did a presentation for the Central Florida Dental Associations and the Hygienist Association. And so she lost about close to 25 pounds during our time together, and she is maintaining that. We have that window. I always say have that like maybe 5-pound window. When you get to that 5-pound window, you need to reel it in. You need to go back to tightening up on maybe journaling, or tightening up on making sure you're really eating what you think you're eating. But whatever it is you need to do to kind of reel it in, and then it's easy to lose 5 pounds, but it's harder to lose 20, right? And so I'm very pleased to hear that she is keeping it off. And that is what it's all about, lifestyle change. She traveled, she celebrated birthdays, she did a lot of stuff during our time together. So it's not about sitting at home being a bubble, is really what it's all about. And so let's see here. I was just seeing if we had any more comments. Okay, great. So as people are tuning in, please, share with me your name, where you're tuning in from, and how day 1 went for you if you participated yesterday. Okay. And so these same results are possible for you. Okay. And everyday people, as you see, she has an everyday job, and her job is very hectic. And so one of her challenges was, how does she eat? How do you get it in when she's going from patient to patient to patient? And so, and so that the culture is just like, you got to go. And so she really had to be very intentional to get a snack in and lunch in and things of that nature. So I was very proud of her for doing that, because again, sometimes the culture just doesn't, or the environment doesn't support doing that, even though our body needs it. And so our breakdown for today, we are going to recap yesterday. We're going to go over today's topic, and then we're going to address any questions. So anything that pops up throughout, definitely feel free to ask. Okay. And then we'll shift back to the meals to see what's going on for the rest of the day, and leading up into breakfast tomorrow. So we'll kind of know what's upcoming. Okay. And so if you're ready, just kind of thumbs up if you're ready. Let me know that you're ready. And again, a heads up for those who want to take a deeper dive with me, stay with me, and we were going to talk about how you can regain control over eating habits, how you can improve your sleep quality, and how you can develop a newfound love for food without fearing that you're going to gain weight, and how to sharpen that mental focus and combine that with exercise. So there's a lot of good things coming up. So we got the holidays coming up. So kind of want to be armed for what's coming up in the future. Okay. So hopefully you enjoyed looking at Samantha there. So very inspirational, very, very, very inspirational. And so let's do a recap. Okay. Let's do a little recap. Let me see if there's any questions. All right. We're ready to rock and roll. So let's do a little recap of yesterday. And in a nutshell, I went over 3 points to start the process of getting back on track. We talked about forgiving yourself. So let the summer go, or let whatever it is that you feel is kind of bogging you down, let it go. Let's move forward. Let's move onward. Let's move forward. Let's focus on what we can do now. And then the second one was letting go of the all or nothing mindset. Okay. It's not about perfection. It's about staying consistent, whatever that is for you. Consistency is different for different people, but as long as you're moving forward in some way, that's progress, and that's staying in the game. And as long as you don't give up. Okay. The people who really don't have success is those who give up. Okay. So we don't want to allow that fear or frustration to take hold of us. And finally, we talked about self-care, specifically sleep. Number 1, sleep, get the proper rest, stay properly hydrated, effective exercise. Okay. And so listen to the replay. You would get more details on that, but a lot of good nuggets to kind of give you something to think about. And I say pick one thing. Don't try to take on the whole enchilada. Pick one thing and focus on that. And then you can always add to it. And that way, that's how things become habit. All right. And so next on the agenda, let's see here. Just checking to make sure I'm not missing any comments or any questions. Let's go into the topic for today. Okay. We're going to go into the topic for today. And so while there are many different ways to lose weight, there's many ways, right? Finding a healthier eating and an exercise plan that works for you and that you can follow is really the best way to success. Okay. There's no magic equation, but it needs to work for you. It needs to work for your lifestyle and it needs to work long-term. Okay. And so that's something that we want to think about. And so although fad diets, they may give you quick results, but they're generally unhealthy and they deprive the body of nutrients, calories, and it leads to most people to return back to those habits that they had, especially if they were not taught how to build a meal. What is that art of building a meal? How do you know what to eat? And so you go back to what you know, and that's where it becomes a vicious cycle. And so for day 2, we're going to share 3 factors. I want to share the 3 how factors, the 3 what factors, and the 1 how factor on how to get back on track with your healthy eating and losing weight effectively. Okay. And effectively to me, also includes being realistic. Okay. We need to make sure that it's realistic. Okay. And that we can actually follow it. Okay. And so we're going to talk about discover the what and the how to eat to lose weight. Okay. Because that's the big question. I don't know what to eat. Okay. What do I eat? And so I'm going to do a poll. If you have tried a fad diet, name one that you've tried, or maybe more than one that you've tried that maybe it didn't work for you or maybe it wasn't sustainable for you, or maybe you've done weight loss medications. And in many cases, when we go off the medications, we kind of go back to what we knew and we end up getting the weight back. Or maybe you did injections. A lot of times people do the HCG shots. And so we got supplements, we got extreme diets, we got juicing. So if you've done any form of a diet, or even not even named, maybe you just went low carb, maybe you cut out sweets, share that with me, and so we can kind of get an idea of our audience here. And so let's start with the 3 how factors. Okay, as I'm waiting for that information to come in, the 3 how factors. So the first one is how to minimize distractions. Okay, and so we hear about that. You shouldn't eat in front of the TV. You shouldn't eat while you're doing multiple things. You shouldn't eat in front of the computer. Okay, who's guilty of that one? Okay, I'm definitely guilty of that one. However, it depends on how much you're eating. That's really the big thing. And so the premise behind that is if we're eating in front of the TV or the computer, we're mindlessly eating. We're not paying attention, especially if we have the big bag of something. We're just kind of just eating because it's there. And so that's how it can sabotage our eating habits, not because we're literally in front of the TV or literally in front of the computer. It's just that we're not really paying attention and we're distracted as to how much we're eating. And then we just kind of mindlessly eat because the movie's still on. We still got to eat or we're still working on the project. We got to continue eating. And so that is really what the issue is with that. But if you have something portioned and you don't go back for more, then it's okay to have that snack in front of the TV. But that's kind of one of those tips to save yourself from yourself, because that's in many cases for a lot of people, that's where they eat a lot more than they realize they're eating. Okay. So minimize the distractions. Unless I say you are portioning things out, then you really minimize. Okay. Low carb, intermittent fasting. You've done them all. You are not alone. You've done it all. You're not alone. And unfortunately, many of them still lead to the same end result, which is frustrating. I know it's very, very, very frustrating. So I'm trying to shift that. I'm trying to shift that. And the number two how is walk your way to health. Okay, walk your way to health. And so what do I mean by that? So some people feel like they have to kill themselves in the gym. Like they got to do 3 hours of hardcore. They got to hurt. They got to burn. If you feel that way, let me know. But they have to have this rigorous exercise routine in order to jumpstart weight loss. No, not at all. And so different types of activity are important. of course, when you're attempting to get it into shape, as well as overall health, heart health, immune system health, our cholesterol panel, blood sugar, of course we want total body wellness, but but you have to have a medium, and you also want to do more than walk 10,000 steps. Like I said yesterday, we need to do more. So we need to find that happy median. Cross training is very important, and we have to rest our body. We need to do some cardio. We need to do resistance. We need to stretch. We need to just have a day of full recovery, because that allows our body to recover and recuperate and avoid injury. So going to the gym 3 hours a day, how many people have done that and been frustrated because they still didn't get the results? So you still have to pay attention to the eating. And so I just say it doesn't take all that, and that's why I'm such a proponent of group programs and or working with a trainer, so that they are aware of, they can explain to you more how the body works, and making sure that you're not overdoing it, because there is a such thing as overdoing it. Okay. And a lot of times we don't realize that. And so I see some people coming on, so please tune in, say hello. And if you were able to participate yesterday, share a aha moment or a success or even a challenge that you had from yesterday, or even bring any questions that you have. And so the third how is bring your inner chef. Your inner chef, okay? So cooking meals at home, we know, has been shown to promote weight loss, definitely healthier eating, overall optimal health, okay? We know that we're in control. Although eating at restaurants is enjoyable, it can still fit into a healthy eating plan, focusing more, but you still should focus more on having your meals cooked at home. And so look at going out as a luxury. It's unfortunately become like the norm now, but turn that back into something to look forward to on a Friday or a Saturday or something like that, but limit it to 1 to 2 meals. So I always say that to my clients, 1 to 2 meals per week, and be very intentional about how much you're eating, okay? Because we take a hit eating out, even chicken, okay? A lot of times people like to go get grilled chicken and have a salad and, that kind of thing. But again, there's a lot of things in restaurants foods. There's a lot of this higher in salt, higher in fat, higher in things that we don't need, less of things that we do need. So we want to make sure that we are being mindful of that, okay? And recipes are your friend. Take advantage of recipes, okay? I'm a big proponent of recipes. Shake things up, because if we cook the same way we know, then yeah, we're gonna get bored. We're not gonna want it. Something else is gonna, jump at you, and you're gonna want it. So it's good to not be afraid to have recipes. So hopefully you're finding some new recipes here, and hopefully some of them will stay with you, and we'll talk more about those a little bit later. And so where are you at? So let's talk about where do you feel you need more support? Is it the distractions? Do you find yourself late night eating more? Some people, and monitor yourself. When do you have your cravings? For some people, it's a pattern. They may not realize it. Sometimes it's always between, in the afternoon around 3, 4. But some people it's in the evening. So when is your time that you find yourself experiencing it? And you may notice that it's a pattern. Exercise. Where do you need support with exercise? Maybe stepping up your game, or having more of a cross training where you're not doing so much of one thing and less of another. So maybe you need help with that, or cooking more at home. Okay. You don't have to cook 7 days a week, but cook more at home. Maybe bring lunch and not eat out for lunch. Save that for dinner with your friends and family and things like that. Okay. So, and maybe have a challenge for yourself that maybe at least 3 days out of the work week, you'll pack your lunch versus going to the cafeteria. Going to the cafeteria is eating out as well. So a lot of times people don't realize going to the cafeteria, anything that requires a receipt that you have to pay for, or you're not controlling it, then it's eating out. That's kind of how I break that down. And so now let's talk about the 3 why factors. Okay. The 3 why factors. And let's see here. Don't deprive yourself. I think I see some comments here. Definitely a pattern before bed. Yep. Yep. Charlotte, very common before bed. And you know what? And in many cases, that is because you don't realize it during the day. You maybe not have eaten as much. You may have snacked on some things, or maybe grazed throughout the day. But overall, that's your body screaming at you. That's your body's survival mechanism trying to say to you, I'm hungry. I'm hungry. And it just kind of comes to a head in the evenings for you. Some people it comes to a head at 3 o'clock. So it's different for different people, but it's a similar kind of pattern of not eating enough and not eating enough of the things that the body needs in order to thrive. And so it's kind of letting you know that. So some of the why factor, or some of the what factor, I'm sorry, some of the what factor. So don't deprive yourself, okay? Don't deprive. So telling yourself you will never have your favorite foods again is unrealistic, and it is going to set yourself up. And that's kind of how diets kind of set you up. They have this list of foods you should eat, this list of foods you should eat, and the foods that are on the shouldn't list is stuff you typically want to have. And so that's no fun, right? That's no way to enjoy life. And so depriving yourself will only make you want that forbidden food even more, okay? And you're going to either eat it in hiding, or one day you're going to just lose your mind and not understand why. You're going to have an attitude. You're going to be snapping at everybody. You're not going to equate to the fact that there's some deprivation going on, okay? And so it's amazing how all this stuff kind of connects. And so you want to make room for the appropriate indulgences here, and you want to teach yourself self-control. Sometimes you need to just kind of clear the house out and not have certain things if you know you don't have any control, but you also have to learn how to handle yourself when the food is around, because when you do get around it, you're going to have the same behaviors. So it's a balance, and that's a process that I work through with my clients to help them to feel comfortable around food again and not fear food being around. Because once you know you can have it, that typically takes 60% of the burden off. Once you know you can have it, now it's a matter of how do you fit it in to where it doesn't derail your efforts, okay? And so being able to enjoy, a small portion of a homemade dessert or indulge in your favorite holiday dish, that is having a healthy relationship with food, okay? That is your healthy-ish, okay? That's one way to define your healthy-ish, and not feeling that you have to deprive yourself, okay? And you don't want to use deprivation as a way to save calories, okay? Because you will end up eating 3 times more by doing that, okay? It's very typical, especially during the holidays. And when we get closer to the holidays, I typically have a live on how to prepare yourself for the holidays so that you are not going to come out of the holidays wanting to lose the same weight, okay? So let's see here. Yes, I really don't eat what's needed during the day. Okay, well, that is good that you observe that. And a lot of times, and the thing is, you don't know what you don't know. And so we think if we eat less, exercise more, we'll lose. But there's two ways to think of this. We have to eat enough for our body just to keep us alive and keep us going. And then we also have to eat enough for our metabolism to work, because that burns calories for our metabolism to work. And so if it doesn't have enough energy to do that, then it's hard to do plateau. It's hard to lose. It's surviving off the fat that you're trying to lose. So it's not going to burn because it's trying to help you survive. So it's a lot. It's that sweet spot that we have to look for. Okay. Filling up on fiber is another one that is very important. Okay. Fiber is found in healthy foods like vegetables, not just broccoli and cauliflower. That's typically what we eat, but we have other vegetables. We have our starches like potatoes and corn, great powerhouse foods that are typically off of a list when we're dieting. Fruits, beans, whole grains, and guess what all of these are? Carbs, okay? They are carbs, carbohydrates that we need. These are good carbs, complex carbs that our body thrives off of. And so if we deprive ourselves of that, it's very difficult to focus. It's very difficult to concentrate. Our energy levels are low and our craving levels are high. That's just the name of food. Messes with our sugar levels too, believe it or not. So you don't, just because we're diabetic or even pre-diabetic, we're not supposed to just avoid all carbs. You got to learn how to balance them throughout the day for your needs. Okay, that's what's important. And so in order to increase fiber, you want to have a mix of soluble fiber, which is typically your cholesterol lowering, and you want to have insoluble fiber, which is typically what helps us to have a bowel movement every day. And we should have one every day. A lot of people, once a week, or not once a week, but maybe like a few times a week or every other day. No, you're supposed to have them every day, at least once every day. And so those are things that are very important to total body wellness down the line, okay? And so that's very important. So complex carbs are very vital in getting the different mix of fiber that we need, as well as fruits and vegetables. And so studies have shown that simply eating foods more rich in fiber will help you to lose weight and to keep it off, because that aids into satiety. We always hear about protein and satiety, but also fiber. Okay, all that stuff is very important. Okay, and why is that? Because fiber is what keeps you fuller longer. Okay, so when you increase your intake of fiber, then you can do that by easy. You can add beans to a salad. You can eat oatmeal for breakfast, which we're doing. You can add nuts or seeds to yogurt or anything, salad. So there's many different ways to make that happen. Okay. Let's see here. I have a friend who recommends drinking Metamucil. Okay. It's a supplement. Okay. And so you need that when food is not present, so remember, I always say food is your number one supplement. Okay. So I have many clients who come to me with constipation, or maybe they've had a history of it, maybe since childhood. And it's a combination of lack of water for your needs, for your body needs, and as well as lack of fiber. And those are things that we can control. And so once we control those things, and once we do our due diligence in making sure that that is on point, then usually it's resolved. Otherwise, maybe there is a medical situation, but in most cases, your body will resolve once the food is in place in order to give you the recommended grams of fiber that is necessary in a day. So again, that's a supplement, option, but I'm all about food. So I'm gonna say you can save that money. And so buddy up. So let's talk about buddying up. That's another what to do. Okay, so in buddy up, meaning you're having trouble sticking with a plan or sticking with something, so you need an accountability partner. But be careful who your accountability partner is. I had a client mention, well, my friends know just as much as I know, so we're feeding the wrong information to each other. And that's a really good point. So you really want to just have that accountability partner to hopefully, as you're learning, like with this challenge and like reading my newsletters and things like that, you're learning the healthier way to do things. And so pass that on to your friends. So you guys are at least trying to do the healthier versions of trying to accomplish the same goal versus depriving yourself. But it's good to have that buddy for healthy competition to say, hey, did you work out today? And accountability. So that is definitely important. So you don't have to go at it alone. Okay. And having a friend and family member, it helps you stay motivated. Okay. It helps you stay motivated, and you can bounce things off of each other. So those are good things. So let me see here. Just need the extra fiber. Okay. Well, I'll be real interested in hearing why you feel like you need the extra fiber, or maybe there's ways to get it into your eating plan, because really there's no need for that. There's really no need, unless it's a medical reason. You should be able to handle it all with food. So you shouldn't need the extra. So I would be interested. We'll have to chat offline to hear more about. I would like to hear more about that. And so, where do you feel you need support in regards to the what factor? Are you restricting too much? This is probably everybody. This is usually everybody has a level of this going on. Fiber. Do you need to increase more fiber? So that means, do you need to eat more fruits and vegetables consistently? Do you need to eat more whole grains? So this is probably crosses a lot of people too. Accountability partner. Most people have an accountability partner. They have somebody that they can talk to. But so where do you feel like you need help with? And with the restricting, do you have this list of foods that either you feel like you shouldn't eat, or you say to yourself, oh, I know I shouldn't have that, or put a tag to it, like that's a bad food, or I know I shouldn't have eaten that. So to me, that's a form of deprivation, and it's a form of dieting. Okay. And so the one how factor, okay, the one how and the one what. Okay. So we're going to kind of lump some things. And that is very important that we don't think about. It's not what you think, and it has absolutely nothing to do with food. Okay. Okay, let's see here. I see a question here. Does detox increase bathroom visits? I went to the bathroom more than usual yesterday. Well, you probably went more, Lisa, because you had more fiber. That's why they say introduce it slowly, because sometimes it can, be a little abrupt to the body, but you were eating things more in its natural form. It wasn't a lot of artificial this and a lot of artificial that, but yet you still had flavor. And so things were, so that was probably a bigger reason why. And so that's a good thing, but it will subside once your body gets used to it and it adapts. Then going once, maybe twice, is very, very, very normal. Yep, restricting, and then and Charlotte's chiming in, restricting and then going overboard with allowing. But yes, exactly, and that is a common cause effect. If we cut back too much, the effect is we end up craving more, indulging more, and making decisions that we probably didn't want to make in the beginning of the day when we had the best intentions of cutting back. So there's a way to save calories that's healthy, and that's how you want to do it. Because yeah, sometimes we do want to save calories because we know something is coming up later in the day, but we don't want to starve. Saving calories and starving ourselves are two different approaches. So make time for yourself. Okay, we are so busy, right? I'm busy. Okay, and when I was going through my journey with blood pressure, and I this is a journey that I have to deal with every day, is I can't allow busyness to allow me to overindulge or not exercise or not sleep properly for long periods of time, because it will affect my blood pressure. And so for those who don't have a diagnosis, I want to keep it that way. But we have to not allow busyness to impact our quality of life and our quantity of life, because it will. And in many cases, the busyness comes in the form of our job. Yes, we need our job to work. However, at the expense of our health, we shouldn't have to make those decisions. How do we marry the two? And that's what's important. And so we got to be careful of how much we overextend ourselves and how much we put before making ourselves first, realizing that if we're whole and we're happy and we're at peace and we're feeling good, then we're more to everybody else, and we're able to accomplish a goal. And so creating a healthier lifestyle means finding that time for yourself. Okay. And if you don't think that that's possible, I can help you with that so we can make it possible. Okay. Because it's important, and our culture, unfortunately, doesn't support it. But look how sick we are as a country. We're the sickest country, right? But we're supposed to be the richest, right? So think about that. And so life often gets in the way of our weight and our fitness goal. Things are going to always happen. The unexpected is going to always occur all the time. But we still got to figure out, how do we still get some decent meals in? How do we still meet our calorie needs so our body will not shut down on us? How do we, so we're not feeling sick and inflamed and all that kind of stuff? We still got to figure out a way to do it. There's an easy way to do it. Yeah. And when we have time, we can make it all fancy, but how do you do it? How do you still plug through that? And so responsibilities like working and parenting, yes, they're important. And it should be a priority. However, how do we not lose ourselves in those important things in life as well? Okay. So you want to set aside time for self-care, both physical and mental. Okay. And it's so important. And it's part of the lifestyle process. Okay. So setting aside that time will do wonders for you. Okay. So let's get back on track with our health goals effectively. And honestly, it's about mind control. It's about mind control. And I'm going to say this as well. You must keep your thoughts positive. Okay. If you say this is hard, I'm overwhelmed, I have so much to do, I can't do this, this is too much, any of those things that we tell ourselves, it is going to make it very difficult. So we want to learn to stress about things that we shouldn't stress about things that we have zero control about, and we need to learn how to not stress about things that happen every day. You go to this job, it's a coworker that gets on your nerves. Why? It's going to happen. So, we got to learn how to let things roll off of us and really choose our battles, choose our battles wisely, because it impacts our blood pressure, it impacts our well-being. So you want to seek a balance to where we're not focusing so much on things that are not in our control. We want to focus on the matters that truly matter. Okay. So think about that. Okay. And so the key to real successful weight loss is to adopt a healthier lifestyle that suits your individual needs. And that's what's so important. Okay. And that's what discipline is about. Okay. Staying in the game. Okay. And so let me see if I have any questions or comments, and we are going to keep this thing moving. I want to pause for a brief moment. I want to make an announcement to my weight loss warriors. If you are ready to unleash the fall transformation that you've been looking to feel, and you want to feel your best, think about the holidays. We got the holidays coming on. If you want to go into the holidays fly and saying goodbye to diets and not feeling like you have to lose weight as a resolution in the new year, I definitely want to speak to you about my 6-week boot camp that is going to start at the end of the month in a couple of weeks. And I want to give you the URL here so you can check it out. But it's called Fuel and Train to the Max. And it is not your typical boot camp. It is about mastering clear, achievable lifestyle skills that can stand strong during any season of your life, no matter, and no more dieting, no more overtraining. You want sustainable results. And 6 weeks of expert design eating plans. So they're meal plans that have been charted out, all that good stuff. And it includes lots of variety, different themes every week. So 6 weeks of that. So you'll have 6 weeks of recipes, over 30, 40 recipes that you'll have, and snacks. You will have 6 weeks of powerful workouts that will accommodate all fitness levels. And I mentioned yesterday, if you are with Orange Theory or you have some other program, you can still do your program in conjunction with this. So it will work. They'll marry. And you have guided lessons. So you have 6 weeks of live interaction with me as well as the other boot campers every week. It's done outside of Facebook, so we don't have to have Facebook in order to participate. And some of the amazing results that will come out of that are you will have more nutrition insights, okay? You will be able to equip yourself for success, okay? Gain tools to know how to navigate the highs and the lows, okay? Navigate food freedom. So you're not fearing food, okay? We don't want you fearing food. You'll be able to have different variety of recipes. The same chicken can be made 1,000 ways, so we'll find different ways to make them. Really say goodbye to cravings. You will stay in control of food and gain control over emotional eating. So we're going to learn that. Kickstart your weight loss, of course, igniting your metabolism, okay? There is no age on when your metabolism slows down, okay? It's just that we have to be more intentional in doing things, okay? Sculpt muscles, okay? Build those muscles, show those muscles, begin to reveal them, okay? Changing your body composition and sleeping better and having more clarity. So those are just some of the things that you will witness and benefit, but most importantly, giving you the tools that will last beyond the 6 weeks. Okay. That's what's most important. And so this is the URL and check it out. And a couple of more topics that we are going to talk about. We're going to talk about what does clean eating really mean, and what's the real deal with carbs? Like why do we need them? What's up with carbs, and why is it such a big controversy with carbs? So we're going to definitely talk about that. And I'm going to give you 13 ways to stop sugar cravings in their tracks. So that's a couple of topics that we're going to talk about, and some very timely bonuses for you all. And so the first 7 will be able to have an hour one-on-one with me probably during the beginning part of the 6 weeks, so that you can maximize your results throughout the boot camp. So we'll be able to personalize some things, maybe tweak some things with the plan to make it more specific to your needs. And even if you're on any meds or any diagnosis, then we can talk about that as well. And then also and so that's complimentary for the first 7. And so, and that's a value of $125, that's complimentary. And then the big one is the flash 3-day sale that's going on that will end on tomorrow at midnight. And so you can save an additional $50 off the early bird price. Okay. So off the early bird savings. So take advantage of that. That ends tomorrow at midnight. Okay. And so if there are any questions or any comments, I'm going to continue looking through. We are pretty much at the end here, just going over the meals for the remainder of the day. The portobello BLT, that is yummy, yummy, yummy. So for those of you who enjoy pork bacon, here is your opportunity to get it in. If you want to substitute with turkey, that is perfectly fine, but it's a yummy one. Okay, so I remember when I first did this, I had really never had anything on a portobello mushroom before, and it was actually really good with the pesto and all the different flavors. So that's what made it really yummy. And we still have the same snack, very, very easy. And then the cookies. So make those tonight if you don't have time to make them tomorrow. And they're going to make several servings. So you can freeze them. They freeze very, very well. So you don't feel like they have to go to waste, and you don't have to feel like you have to eat them all like this week. Lunch is simple. If you haven't had lunch, it's leftovers. So really easy peasy. Okay. So take advantage of that. And I'll talk about the salsa and chips. I'll just kind of give you a heads up. For many people, they have a hard time finding the brown rice tortillas. They're in the freezer section normally. But however, you can get a normal whole wheat wrap. I like to get the Tafayan. It's usually in the deli section, at least at Publix, if you live in this area or an area that has Publix, and you can use that as your tortilla, and it works great. So it's a nice little fun chips and dip kind of snack that I've been doing ever since I got introduced to this recipe. And so this concludes what I have for today. Any comments, any questions that come up, please don't hesitate to post in this thread, post pictures, post images, post reels, post videos. And tomorrow we're going to talk about fighting sugar cravings so that you feel in control of the food, of your food choices. So we're going to talk about food cravings, a very, very popular topic. Okay. And so I hope everyone had a great time, and this was another great session, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, and I will look for any posts you have. Thank you, and be blessed. Bye-bye.